Hello, gentle readers. We have finally made it to the finale of season 4 of Bridgerton. It only took 8 episodes and several weeks because they still want to do part 1 and part 2. But we're here at the finale. So I took a bunch of notes and I tried to organize notes based off of the character, but there was really a lot of stuff that happened. So if I missed something, please comment below what I missed and what you thought about what I missed. Um, I will say in this video, obviously, I'm going to recap what happened. There's some questions that I have, some lingering stuff that happened. And I'm like, oh, what they're going to do with that? I have my suspicions about who the next season is going to be about. I think it's pretty obvious to everyone by this point. I haven't seen anyone dispute my feelings on who the next season is going to be about, but I have evidence to back it up. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm wrong. We won't know until 2027, either way, right? So we're going to get started. I'm going to start with we ended episode 7 with Sophie getting arrested, right? So she's arrested for impersonating royalty and also stealing these stupid shoe clips that were really worth nothing, right? So while she's in jail, like jail now, you get the one phone call. But the guy who arrests her, he tells like, look, I don't know what you did to that lady. She's incredibly vindictive, and I can already tell that whoever you call, she's gonna make their lives a living hell. So be careful. You can call somebody if you want to, but I don't know if you want to. Sophie is very, tenderhearted. She doesn't want to get anybody pulled into her mess. She's very good about considering other people. So she's like, okay, well, I guess she just won't call anybody. So she's content to just kind of rot in jail for the most part. At her house or at her family's house, whatever the step family, Rosamond, that's the mean chick, she gets engaged. Everybody's happy, all excited, blah, 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 blah. Araminta feels like she needs to tie up loose ends. She considers Sophie a loose end. So she goes to the jail to basically convince Sophie to turn herself in and confess. I don't know what that's going to do because if she's going to go to jail regardless or she's going to go to trial regardless, what does it matter if she confesses or not? I don't quite get that. But at the end of the day, she really just wants to erase her from the story. Just erase her existence. She no longer exists. Let's get her out of here. Because in her mind, she is threatening the reputation of her daughters. And at the end of the day, she's just a mama who wants to protect her little girls, right? That's the guys for all this. So Sophie's at trial. And this scene is kind of directly from the book, if I remember correctly. She's at trial. The judge isn't allowing her to speak at the trial. Araminta's kind of saying everything. It is interesting that she's making all these claims with obviously no proof whatsoever because whatever. So while this is happening and Araminta is there, a game of telephone happens on the other screen, which is really funny. So you know how telephone works. You tell this person, they tell that person, they tell this person, right? She doesn't want to call anybody, but Araminta lets it slip that Sophie's in jail. So Posey, who is the nice sister, he's like, oh my gosh, what have I done? She tells Mrs. Farley, who is the housekeeper, who used to be the housekeeper for the Featherington home. Miss Farley can't hold water to save her life. She's the biggest gossip, right? So she takes the news. She goes to Alfie, who is Sophie's friend, who is with the new Lady Penwood, who is Cressida. He's like, oh, I know who you can tell. So he goes to the Bridgerton house to tell Hazel, her homegirl. It's a bunch of stuff. So while this is happening, and they get this whole scoop about what's going on, they're like, "Oh my gosh, she was supposed to go away to the family's going to the Americas, but now she's in jail." So they know they have this information. Meanwhile, if you remember from episode 7, Benedict, I think is very typical. It's too little, too late. He is basically doesn't know where Sophie is. He thinks that she's taking this new job. She's in the Americas. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So this is a very funny scene where he comes in and he's talking to his mother about she wasn't there. I don't know where she is. How am I going to find her? I need a boat. I got to do this. And Penelope and Eloise and Colin are all there. And someone made pointed this out, I thought was really funny. But like, it's really interesting that all of this is happening under the nose of the Bridgerton household, and the three nosiest people in the family knew nothing about it. Hyacinth included, even though she left the room. Hyacinth didn't know about it. The former Lady Whistledown, she knew that, oh, okay, he danced with Lady in Silver. She never put two and two together by him and Sophie. So she pays attention, but obviously not as much as she thought she did. So they're all like, what do you mean he's in love with her? What? I can't believe that. While this is all happening, the maids are like, hey, we know what's going down. So while Sophie's at trial and the judge is about to give his ruling, who bursts through the doors? Benedict and Violet. And now, again, this scene is from the book. And one thing I do love, and obviously this is still the case now, people like to throw their weight around, throw their money around, and throw their connections around. He doesn't just say I'm Benedict Bridgerton. Oh, no, 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 no. says, I am the son of the late Viscount, whatever number Viscount he was, Edmund Bridgerton. I'm the brother of Viscount Anthony Bridgerton. And here come Violet pulling up the rear, and the brother of the Duke of Hastings. Now, that was supposed to be a reminder to us that he got this brother in law that we ain't never going to see again from season one. But I digress. And Violet's just so sweet. She's like, please, she's my lady's maid. I can't do anything without her. It would be really great if you could at least, release her to our custody. She's like batting her eyes and just looking very ladylike and genteel. And Benedict is pouring in real thick too. He's like, please, my poor mother, she needs her lady's maid. It's like, poor mother in a house full of maids? Get out of here. But of course it works. Araminta is like, there'll be no compromise. I don't care what you do. She's like, what do you think the queen will think about you guys harboring a fugitive, essentially? And I'm like, you don't even have a relationship with that woman. You really think the queen's even going to entertain an audience with you? She don't know you. She knows Violet. She knows that whole family. So if she don't listen to anybody, she gonna listen to Bridget before she listen to you. But I digress. When you're mean and evil, you think that everybody's just gonna fall at your feet just because of who you are. She can be sad and mistaken if she try to play that card. So that happens. She comes back to the Bridgerton house as a guest and not as a maid. So she used to stay in a really nice guest bedroom right across from Benedict, even though they're like, hey, we don't want y'all around each other. And Benedict finally admits to her that he knows that she's a lady in silver. Now, I complained about this in the last video, and I'm still kind of upset about it. You spent all of these, because we also don't know what the time frame is. I think in the book it's a period of like a couple of years between him meeting her at the ball and like being reintroduced to her. So it's like, okay, I kind of understand from that standpoint if you don't remember who this woman is because it's been such a long time. It's only been a matter of like weeks or months in the show. So you mean to tell me that all these hours of painting and drawing and sketching this woman, focusing and then fixated on her lips, you didn't know this was the same chick? You kissed her, well, she kissed you rather, at that freaking masquerade ball. You didn't remember the kiss? Especially as every woman he meets, he's focused on their lips because he remembers what the woman in silver, her lips look like. Sophie got the same motherfucking lips. But he never once focused on her lips. Like every time he looked at her, he looked at the whole face. He never fixated on the lips like he did with all the other women. Because I guess in his mind, there's no way you could be a woman of means. So why look at your lips? But I'm like, I was just annoyed that it was her necklace that you got. Oh, I've been sketching this necklace forever. You've been sketching her freaking face forever. You didn't even recognize her face? That I digress. I'm not going to upset all over again because that's going to piss me off. But he essentially tells her that, and he says something really nice to her. And I still can't find it because, again, I wrote all these notes and it's all kind of all over the place. He said that she saw him when he always felt alone in a crowd. And he's a little disappointed that she didn't say who she was, but obviously he understands why she didn't. And so while they're having this conversation in the hallway, one of the butlers comes up. I forgot this man's name, but he comes up and he's basically like, oh, I'm basically supposed to be the chaperone, make sure y'all don't go in each other's rooms. They're like, okay, you're right, we shouldn't be in each other's rooms, but these people cannot stay away from each other. So she comes out and she's talking to the butler. Her friend Hazel comes up and starts talking to him like, oh, you look really handsome. He's like, oh, really? You think I'm handsome? So he departs to talk to that chick, and Sophie goes over next door to talk to Benedict. And in this conversation, we talked about this before, how in the first, I want to say like the second episode or something of the season, how Araminta told her, your father left you nothing in the will, but I'm going to take care of you. You're just being made in the house. You can stay here as long as you want, as long as you understand like your position essentially. And she's telling Benedict how I loved my father. You're the second man I've ever loved. But he even disappointed me because he didn't do this and this and this. And he's like, that woman clearly despises you. So why did you automatically believe that you weren't in the will, especially a will that you didn't even see? And it's like, it took all this time for someone to put that in your head. None of the maids said that to you. None of like, well, maybe now I think maybe she didn't tell the maids. But like, it never once dawned on you that the woman was lying. Especially when she like made you be a maid, especially when you saw how mean she was over the years. At no given point did you think she was not telling the truth. Like I thought that was kind of weird, but now he put it in her head like, oh, huh, you seen that well. Need to rectify that situation. So then they have a really, I think, a cute romantic scene where they're kissing, they're doing all this stuff, and they take a bath together where they're, not making sweet love because she's like, I don't want to take the chance of accidentally getting pregnant. So he basically, says, come hither for her. And they have a nice, sweet little moment in the tub, right? But it gets her gears turning mentally like, oh, I need to get my hands on the will. She's like, I know the will is probably still at the Penwood house where Cressida is now the person in charge. So she convinces Eloise, because Eloise likes her, and is like, hey, can you help me out? I know you're friends with her. Can you get me into the Penwood home? So Eloise is basically trying to distract Cressida while Sophie finds the will. She isn't finding the will, and the will says that Araminta would get £4,000 for every year that Sophie is in this home. So that's why she kept Sophie there as long as she did, because she was getting paid for it. And in the will, Posey, Sophie, and Rosamond are all supposed to get equal shares of a dowry. Back in this day, if you were to get married as a woman, you're supposed to have a dowry that you present to your husband. Essentially, the way I see it, you're basically paying this man to marry you. Didn't quite understand the concept back in the day, but I guess it's like it. Actually, I don't really know the reason. If you guys know the reason, please let me know. Why was that a thing? Why did a woman have to, well, not a woman, but why did a woman's family have to pay a man to marry their daughter? Like, what was that supposed to signify exactly? So let me know in the comments if you do know. I'm not going to research it right now, but I am curious why that was, like, what that was supposed to prove and what message that's supposed to send. Let me know. But essentially, she finds the will, she gets all the information she needs with the help of her two friends who still work at the house. I love the closeness that we're seeing of friendship. I've said this before in past seasons. There weren't a lot of examples of specifically of female friendships outside of Eloise and Penelope, and then Lady Danbury and the Queen. Wasn't really a lot of good girlfriends, even good friends in general. Like the siblings, because there's so many of them, they really hang out with each other. Like Colin ain't got no friends. Anthony has no friends. Benedict ain't got no friends. Like they really just kind of hang out with each other. And so seeing even a man, Alfie, who's really close friends with Sophie, and then the other woman, I don't know her name, is really close friends with Sophie as well. I do love seeing the dynamic of that and the closeness that they share. So glad that they were able to help her out. But one of the best parts about this whole, not scene, but the setting of being in this house, Eloise is there originally to distract Cressida. But in having the conversation with her, Cressida starts talking about marriage and how, I listened to everything that you told me, but this is why I got married and I like it. I don't regret it, all that stuff. We're seeing a lot of growth in Eloise this particular episode, very specifically this episode. She apologized to Cressida. She's like, I did not do a good job. No, basically, I was self absorbed all last season. Something Hyacinth accused her of, in addition to Cressida, in addition to Alfie. So she's finally understanding. She's like, I was really self absorbed, and I did not do a good job as a friend because I did not understand how important the marriage mark to you was. I didn't understand the desperation you had to leave your parents' home because of how cold and unwelcoming it was. I didn't understand the drama of you almost marrying a man who's like 3 times your age. Like I really didn't get that whole concept. I have a better understanding now, and I apologize. I really should have been there for you as a friend. And I thought it was a really much needed conversation. I think Cressida has definitely changed a lot. She seems to have humbled herself based off of everything that happened to her last season. So I was glad that she and Eloise got that moment. And there's a couple other moments in this episode where Eloise is like, you can tell that there's a shift in her thinking, right? Okay, so just real quick, 'cause this is just a really quick part of the story. They're still looking for a new heir for the Kilmartins, for Francesca, right? Because again, she's not pregnant, and the new heir has to be someone who's a male, so the next oldest male relative in his family, whoever that is. So they figure out who that person is. She's in the house by herself, still with Michaela, and she asks Michaela, "Will you stay with me until the new heir is found? Because I'm lonely and I just really enjoy your company." And Michaela's like, "Of course, girl, I got you." So they're sitting beside each other on the couch. Francesca reaches over and she like grips her hand, like you do sometimes with your girlfriend's like, "Oh, thank you, sis. I appreciate you, blah, blah, blah." It's a very quick moment, but Michaela pulls away first. And the way she pulls away is very telling, I think, because the next time you see them, Francesca is trying to have breakfast or drinks or whatever, and she asks her maid, "Oh, have you seen Miss Kilmartin?" She's like, "Oh, she already left." So Michaela left and went back to Scotland most likely, and ain't saying nothing to Francesca. This is what I think, because we've gone over this before. In the books, in Francesca's book, she marries a man named John. John dies early on in their marriage, like 2 years into their marriage or whatever. And then his cousin or best friend or brother, Michael Sterling, he has been in love with Francesca for a while, but she leans on him heavily because he is the new Earl of Kilmartin. He's, the heir, and they get so close to each other and are falling in love with each other, and they marry each other. So obviously, Michael has been turned into Michaela for the show. And so, with that information, that's giving us the impression that there's going to be some kind of romantic relationship between Michaela and Francesca. There was nothing indicating that necessarily, but the fact that Michaela pulled away and she left without telling Francesca, I think that she's already developing feelings for Francesca, and she is not embarrassed by the feelings, but I think she can tell that Francesca doesn't necessarily reciprocate those specific feelings. So I think she left early to spare herself. That's my personal opinion. We're not gonna find that out until season five. I'm sure they have to go back to the storyline and tell us something because you have to. So that's my opinion. But that's really all that happened with them this season. So, okay, what else? The Queen had a ball, and this is what she had a ball under the guise of let's celebrate Lady Danbury who's leaving. But I think the whole thing about Lady Danbury being celebrated was like at the very bottom was like a really tiny print, which is funny. But also having the Queen have her voice over like your royal highness wants to invite you to her ball and it's this and it's this, but the way she talked it was very Lady Whistledown like, so I thought that was really cute. I really got a kick out of that. And so okay, she hosts a ball. I said I love that her speaking with the Whistledown flair. And Danbury tells the Queen everything that's going on with Benedict and with Sophie because Violet asked her, hey, can you see if the Queen can do anything? The Queen's basically like, girl, I'd like to, but ain't nothing I can do. So in having this conversation, Alice overhears, who's who's the Queen's new lady's maid. And Alice has a conversation with her husband Will, and essentially she's like, I want to help this maid in some way. And her thinking is basically taking what Lady Danbury told her to heart. Lady Danbury said, I've been her lady's maid for a long time. It's time for me to move on. I'm not expecting you to fill my shoes and do exactly what I did, but create your own space. She needs a friend. She needs somebody who can help her, who's also going to challenge her. And I think you're the person who can do this. So I feel like, and then one thing that Alice said to her husband was Lady Danbury was really good at making sure that she kind of set the precedent for Black people during that time having titles. Because the Queen was the first like Black person to have this title, but she bestowed titles on the other Black people. And Lady Danbury is like the first example of what this means, like the rules of succession and all this other stuff. So she did that and made her mark, and Alice is trying to figure out a way to make her mark. So she basically says, just like Lady Danbury helped people, I want to really help. Just like she helps people of color get these titles, Alice's not soapbox, but I guess her focus is helping the common people because she was the common person not that long ago. She fell into this title, not the nobility, because she's not the noble one. Her son is. Her son, who is all of 12, 13 years old, who is the Earl of whatever he's the Earl of, Earl of Kent. She doesn't have a title though. She's the mother of an earl, so technically by association she has some like nobility there, but this is all very new to her. And so she still has a very warm spot for people who, I don't say the common, but I guess technically the common man, the working man or woman. So she wants to figure out a way to help them. So she decides, okay, I'm going to help the Bridgertons by inviting all of them to come to the ball, including sneaking Sophie in, right? So they sneak Sophie in. So Sophie, Benedict, and Violet who are in the drawing room. Then Alice goes to get Araminta and is like, hey, come with me. You're being summoned. She didn't say the queen summoned her. It's like just being summoned. So it's Araminta Posey and Rosamond facing off with the two Bridgertons and Sophie. And Sophie basically tells her, I know you got paid and I know that you took my dowry. And Rosamond, like, basically confirmed that. She was like, well, they were all supposed to get $18,000, and Rosamond all of a sudden had $36,000 to give this man. And essentially, Araminta is coming from a place of hurt, but is misplaced hurt. You're hurt by the husband who had this extra mouth to feed and did not tell you before becoming your husband. So yes, I would be upset with that too. If a man got a secret child, not only a secret child, but a secret child that lives with you full time. I'd be upset about that too, because she's like, he should have loved us. That money should have been ours. I signed up to basically make sure my girls were taken care of. And Sophie's like, your girls were taken care of, and you had love. He absolutely loved you. So there's no, and you have your girls. Like, don't squander away the relationship you got with them. You have them. You have all the things that you need. I was an extra person, but literally me being there took nothing away from you. And that chick is just stubborn in her ways and she ain't never gonna whatever. So the essential agreement is, hey, if you don't try to make Sophie go to jail because of them stupid shoe clips, then we won't tell anybody the fact that you embezzled her money and that you went against the wishes of the Earl of whatever his name is. So Alice goes to tell the queen what happened, like, oh, I invited Sophie. And she's like, oh, you need to get her out of here. She's a housemaid. And she's like, actually, no, I'm not going to do that. Let's see if I can remember everything she said. Also, the queen, Sophie, was there and refused to get rid of her. She stood up to her like Lady Danbury and convinced her that she was missing good gossip by forgetting about the lower class people. So the queen comes in, and let me tell you one thing about the queen. I despise her laugh. Her laugh is it's high pitched and it's like grating on my ears. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so she goes in there and they're like, oh no, everything is fine. No, she's not a maid. She just came to town, and they changed her name. And I guess that was part of the agreement with Araminta that instead of her being Sophie Beck, now she referred to as Sophie Gunn, which was the last name of the Earl. And they were like, well, she's a relative of the Earl, which isn't a lie. She is the daughter of the Earl, but they can't say daughter because she's illegitimate. So it was just like, oh, she's a relative. And I'm like, is that easy? Just to say like, y'all went through all of this and all you had to do was admit that she was related to this person? Because nobody's asking for any proof. So I'm like, kind of confused, but okay, I guess. So the queen just gets a hearty laugh out of it because she can tell that they're lying, not even lying. She can tell that there's some juicy stuff that happened, that they cleaned stuff up before she got there, and she thrives off of that drama. She thrives, and Penelope has said it in a past episode. She thrives off of it because she's not directly connected to it anymore, and so it makes her feel connected to the people again. It makes her feel like herself again because she's been in this ivory tower for so long. It's very easy to feel like you are disconnected from people. So it's like, oh, that's right. These are my people. I remember. Ha, funny. So after they do all that, Sophie and Benedict get to have their first full dance at the Queen's Ball in front of everyone, and he proposes to her. And I love that the way they did the camera work, everything slowed down. Like not them, but everything around them in the background got really slow. Everyone stared at them because he didn't get on one knee. He just pulled a ring out, but every single person happened to whip. Oh my gosh, there's a ring! Like he didn't get on his knee, but whatever. Either way, it was really sweet, very nice. And she also wore this blue sparkly dress. Not my favorite dress, but I'm not a designer, doesn't matter. But the blue sparkly dress, I think, was supposed to emulate the blue sparkly dress that Cinderella is wearing at the end of the Disney movie. So that was really sweet. So that's essentially what happened at the ball. But Eloise again had a breakthrough moment at the ball before Posey and Araminta and Rosamond go and get confronted by the Bridgertons. Posey is kind of standing to the side while Araminta is with Rosamond, helping her with her fiance. And she's like looking at this guy and she's smiling at him and she's waving. And Eloise sees her and goes up to her and is like, he's a really fine match. And you can't let your mother dictate what you do basically for the rest of your life. So if you want him, I think you should go after him. And we have never once seen Eloise encourage a woman to go talk to a man. That has never happened. And there's another scene where, and I think we talked about this in episode 7. After John dies, Hyacinth is really impacted by it. And she's like, I don't want to court anymore. I don't want to be presented because what's the point of being presented, falling in love, possibly getting married, only for my husband to die? Right? So she's like, I don't even want to be out there. And Eloise talks to her about it, and she's basically telling her, this is something you want to do. And yes, there is a chance that something bad could happen, but I don't want you to miss out on something great just because of your fear. Essentially, is what she tells her. I'm trying to find exactly what she said to her. Okay, she talked to her about her debut and said she shouldn't let fear stop her from seeking love like she wants. And one thing Hyacinth said to her, and this was Eloise's influence, which I appreciate. Hyacinth was like, okay, so I think I want to get to know myself a little bit better before I try to get a husband. That's nothing but Eloise's influence. I know no other woman in her life has said that to her. So I was like, okay. But again, Eloise is understanding that her way of thinking is not everybody else's way. And before, she looked down on women who wanted marriage and who wanted kids because she's like, no, that's a form of slavery, and that's this, and femininity, and independence, and blah, 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 blah. Now she's understanding there's more than one way to do something. Everyone has their own opinions, and it's okay that I don't want to do that, but it's also okay that you do want that kind of life for yourself. And I basically said that she's finally starting to see some benefits in marriage. She's not saying that she finds benefit in her getting married, but she understands why people want to get married. Like I feel like she's had several revelations this specific episode, but for sure throughout the whole season. So I appreciated that. And what else? Let me make sure I'm forgetting. Oh, y'all, Violet. So Violet has this conversation with Benedict. This is when they're waiting for Sophie to come back with news about the will. And she's talking to Benedict about how he's the child that reminds her most of herself. And she's like, when I was younger, I was pretty precocious and I was mischievous. I was bold and brave, and I lived and I was free. And then I got married. She's like, and being married was so wonderful and great, but that girl, I think she's still a little bit in me. And I guess her going to the courthouse and kind of going in all gangster like that reminded her of the girl that she was. And so at the Queen's Ball, when Lord Marcus comes around, I was like, oh, she about to break that man's heart. I can already tell. He basically is like, oh yeah, we can announce our engagement now. This is wonderful. And she basically says, look, let's go back to what we were doing. Essentially, let's just go back to having sex because I've discovered this person that I thought I lost. And I haven't been her in so long. Like I was her, and then I was a wife for all those years, and I've been a mother for all of these years. And I have not had time to really focus on Violet anymore. It's just been Mama, and it's been Mrs. Bridgerton. Like I'd like to go back to just being Violet and figure out who that woman is all over again. And he's like, "Look, I love you, but I want a wife." And so he basically, he ends it. And this is what I'm gonna say. One, I definitely think he's about to go tour the countryside with his sister because he ain't got nothing else to do. He ain't about to be, run the risk of running into her knowing that you broke my heart. So he's definitely gonna be with his sister somewhere. But also, too, this is almost a direct correlation to what happened with Lady Danbury and Queen Charlotte when she was dating the Queen's brother. Her husband had passed away. She had 4 kids. She was still young because her husband was much older than her. But when the Queen's brother was like, I want to court you and I want to marry you, she's like, well, what does that entail? He's like, well, we would have to move to Germany, so you'd have to leave London, but you can come visit, as often as you like. You're still young, so I'd like a couple more kids, but essentially you'll have freedom and it'll be great and blah blah blah. And she's like, I have 4 children already. A, I don't want no more kids. And B, again, if you saw Queen Charlotte, she had been promised to her husband when she was 3. So her whole childhood, her whole life, she's been trained to be this man's wife by being trained to learn the music that he likes, to like the food that he likes, to like the alcohol that he likes. Like everything in her being, all of her training has been to be the perfect wife for this specific guy. She has not had time to, and again, she's young when he dies. I think she's like in her 30s or 40s because he's like easily 30, 40 years older than she is. And she's like, no, I need time to figure out who I am. Like, what kind of person I am outside of being somebody's wife. I need that. So, no, I will not marry you. And this is exact parallel to Violet now rejecting Lady Danbury's brother because she wants to go back to figure out who she is. So, I thought that was interesting that they did it that way. Another thing that happens this episode that I've never seen any season of Bridgerton, they had a post credit scene. Because, like, I watched it till the end, and the last scene they show is Benedict and Sophie slow dancing under a gazebo, the same gazebo where they had their first kiss. And I'm like, okay, that's really sweet. And then it ends, and I turn it off, and I'm like, oh, that was cool. But then I go on TikTok, and I see scenes from a episode. I see scenes that I've never seen before, and I'm like, well, how the heck did they find that? I had to Google it. They're like, oh, it's a post credit scene. I was like, excuse me, what? Never done that in the history of Bridgerton. What are we talking about? Post credit scene is the wedding with Sophie and Benedict. So if you're like, girl, I see a wedding, where the heck is it? You have to watch episode 8 and let the credits go by. It's a short post credit scene, but it's the wedding of Benedict and Sophie. Some things to note about the wedding. Sophie is walked down the aisle by Alfie. I love him. I think he's really sweet. Posey is there with her now husband. Rosamund's not there, but Posey's clearly there with the guy that she was crushing on, and they're holding hands. So you know you only do that when you're like married, married. So she's there with her husband. Benedict is no. Anthony is the best man for Benedict, and Kate is in the audience. And my thinking is, y'all can come for the wedding, but y'all couldn't come for freaking Francesca's husband's funeral. But I digress. What the heck do I know? Thought that was strange. At the wedding, who else at the wedding? I mean, well, one side, all Sophie's side pretty much had like all the maids, which was I thought was really cool. And then obviously all the Bridgertons and the royal people on the right side, and they have a sweet little kiss. But the end scene is in the house. This is at their cottage. In the house, there's a beautiful, huge portrait of Sophie that Benedict has painted. And the whole premise of him in this painting thing is that he'll start projects, but he won't finish them. He completely finished his gorgeous painting, so that's already one thing that he finished it. And also, the picture is not like it's not like a picture of Sophie looking prim and proper. It's a picture of her in the silver dress holding the mask, not the mask over her face. So I know it's a symbol that the mask is off. This is who I know. This is who I love. This is who she is. This is how I'm going to remember her always, whatever, whatever. Really, really sweet stuff. So that is the last episode. But this is my prediction of who's going to lead season 5. And I think everyone on TikTok has said the same. Oh, wait a minute. No, I forgot another thing. Before I even get to that, you guys. So there's a scene where Penelope is writing, right? Writing, having a good time, getting all involved in it. And Colin comes in. He's like, I thought you were getting up Lady Whistledown. She's like, I am. She's like, I'm working on my new novel. He's like, oh, well, then who did this? This man pulls out, I'm saying, I have no paper near me. It says this. He pulls out a Lady Whistledown, a brand new issue, and then you hear a voiceover, and obviously the voiceover is still Julie Andrews, but the voiceover is like, "Did you miss me, readers? There's a new Lady Whistledown in town, and I wanted to give you the scoop on this, and I can't wait to play, and I can't wait to give you this and this and this." And I'm like, y'all, how do you bring Lady Whistledown back? Penelope's been her for all these years, and now you're bringing her back. Who the heck is she? Nobody knows. So I have two predictions about who I think Lady Whistledown is now, and who I think season 5 is going to be about. So let's talk about Lady Whistledown first. I saw a TikTok that after these episodes came out, it had all of the characters from Benedict, all the characters from Bridgerton holding a Lady Whistledown, like, oh, could it be Kate? Could it be Daphne? Could it be Penelope? Could it be Colin? And it showed every character, and the only character that made sense to me was Brimsley. Now that is the queen's right hand man, right? He knows all the gossip because not only is he with the queen, he knows the stuff that she knows, but he also has his ear to the common people as well. And I feel like with Lady Danbury going to be gone all these months, the queen is going to need to hear that fresh gossip. So with her being gone and Penelope putting down her pen, he's going to do anything and everything to please the queen. So I think that he's going to take on Lady Whistledown just to kind of keep his queen happy because she's going to be depressed most likely with Lady Danbury gone. That's what I think. So I think it's Brimsley. I don't know if we're going to find out in season 5. I'm very curious. I feel like it's going to be someone I wouldn't even suspect. But I think it's Brimsley. So that's my first prediction. Second prediction is season 5. Now, if you guys are on social media at all, I haven't seen one person dispute who I'm going to say for season 5. I think it's going to be Eloise. And this is my reasoning. Few things. Number one, we're seeing her growth and her change in mindset when it comes to marriage. And again, she's not saying marriage for her, she's saying marriage in general, which shows that, oh, okay, it's not completely off the table for you anymore. You're at least understanding why people do it and you're understanding the beauty of it, right? So that's number one, change in mindset. Number two, there's a scene where I want to say it's episode 7. I think it's episode 7, where Eloise and Penelope are visiting Francesca after John has died. And she's like, I'm so busy. I have to stay busy. I have this correspondence to write. And the camera focuses on this thick stack of letters. And I assume she's basically like letting John's family know that he has passed away. I'm pretty sure that's like what it is, right? The reason why I think that that's another clue in Eloise's story, her husband, the man who becomes her husband, she meets him because she starts writing correspondence to like family members, just writing correspondence to people in general. This particular person that she writes in the book, he has just suffered a loss. His wife has just died. So she starts writing to him to express her condolences. Again, there's no text, there's no, phone calls. You just write. And the letter sometimes will take weeks to get to a person, depending how far away they live. The fact that they focus on the correspondence, I think Eloise is going to volunteer to help Francesca with the correspondence, and one of the relatives of John is going to be the man who's going to be a future husband. That's what I think the connection is there, right? And in 3, at Benedict and Sophie's wedding, Kate is sitting obviously with all the women of the family, and she turns and asks the family, so who do you think is going to be the next person to get married? And the first person that said something was Eloise. She didn't say me, but she said, oh, I love a good wedding. She's like, well, I love wedding. I love the food and I love this and I love that. But the fact that she was the first person to comment, I think this supposed to be a hint that she's going to be the next person that's going to be the star of season 5. So that's what I think. I think it's going to be interesting. Like I know a lot of people have said that it's going to be weird seeing Hyacinth and Gregory have their season because we've seen them grow up and they're so young. But I think it's also going to be weird seeing Eloise in that space because we've never seen her. We've never seen like she had like the one little kiss with the I won't say the common boy, but essentially the common boy in season 2. I think there was a season 3. I think it's season 3. She had like a little kiss with a little season 2, whatever it was. She had a kiss like one kiss with one guy, right? I think they kissed. And but aside from that, we haven't seen her really with the opposite sex like that aside from her brothers. We haven't seen her be comfortable with the man, talking with the man. I don't think she's really the flirty kind of person, which is fine. But even imagining her dating or entertaining marriage or even kissing, getting intimate with someone, I can't really see that from Eloise because we haven't seen any part of that at all. And obviously, she's been very adamant that she does not want that. So it's going to be very interesting how they're going to make that seem convincing for the viewers. So we'll see. But that is my personal opinion. Who do you guys think is going to be the star of season 5? Who the heck do you think is the next Lady Whistledown? Like, who is this new person? I did not see that coming. I didn't expect that to be a storyline. So that threw me all the way off, and I did like a good surprise. So who do you think who do you think is new Lady Whistledown? What did you guys think of this season? You know, I've heard other people compare it to the other seasons. Most people, their ranking that I've seen pretty consistently is that they put Queen Charlotte first, then season 2, then season 4, then season 1, and season 3. Every single person I've seen, even if the order's a little different, everyone's putting Colin Willoughby season dead last. I'm not sure why. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was fine. Yeah, so what do you guys think? I enjoyed the season. I still look forward to Bridgerton every time it comes out. I'm looking forward to season 5. Again, the problem will come out to 2027, but I'm still looking forward to it. And I hope you guys enjoyed these recaps and these reviews. But again, if you guys have any ideas of what is to come for these characters, please comment below. Make sure you like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.